There are certain words that don't just slip through her ears. They land on her skin, tracing slow ripples like a fingertip down her back. Most women have heard the same old names again and again. Baby, honey, sweetheart. They're common, predictable. But when you choose something different, it doesn't feel like another nickname. It feels like heat. It sparks. It makes her body lean closer before her thoughts even register what's happening. That's the power of presence in language. Because when you understand this, she doesn't just hear you, she feels you. The truth is, you don't need tricks. You don't need rehearsed lines. What you really need is meaning. A man who speaks from a place of honesty with timing and calm steadiness isn't just remembered for what he says in the moment. He lingers. He leaves a trace inside her heart, body, and memory that doesn't fade after a few minutes. But somewhere along the way, you might have been sold a lie. You were told that if you want a woman's attention, you have to act smoother, cooler, sharper, that you have to hide the parts of yourself that feel too vulnerable. You were trained to perform instead of connect. And even after following all those strategies, jokes, appearances, clever tricks, you still wonder why it doesn't really work. Think about it. You've seen people who talk endlessly but leave no impression. Then you've seen someone else who says only a few words. Yet the room goes still. People lean in. The energy shifts. That's not magic. That's mastery. That's presence. She feels the difference. She knows when someone is grounded in truth rather than performance. So here's where we start. Take a pause for yourself. If you're listening or watching, commit right now. Do it because you're tired of being overlooked. Because if you've ever felt invisible, even while doing everything right, what we're about to explore is the shift you've been waiting for. Imagine standing by a quiet lake at dawn. The surface is smooth like glass. You drop a small pebble, and even that tiny movement creates ripples spreading across the whole lake. That's what powerful words do. They don't need force or flash. They need intention. They whisper, but they echo. Most men don't get this. They throw boulders. They shout across the water. They storm the silence with too many words, hoping something lands. But the secret isn't in quantity, it's in energy. It's in vibration, rhythm, and emotional charge. Here's something most people never realize. The subconscious mind, the place where true attraction lives, doesn't respond to logic. It responds to motion, tone, presence, rhythm, symbolism. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That doesn't only apply to self-growth. It applies to love, connection, attraction. A woman doesn't remember you because you explained yourself clearly. She remembers you when you spark something that bypasses logic and travels straight into her memory. The problem isn't that you're not trying. The problem is the tools you've been using. Safe questions, small talk, surface-level words. How was your day? Good. What do you do for work? Short answer, silence, nothing sticks. Not because you failed, but because those words never touched your deeper world. This isn't your fault. You were taught to impress, not to connect. But that can change right now because once you learn to speak with impact, not noise, but precision, everything shifts. You'll stop being overlooked. You'll stop being another background voice. You'll be Theon she remembers. You don't need endless pickup lines. You don't need toe talk nonstop. You need just a few words delivered with calm confidence and emotional timing. That's when you stop chasing her attention and start drawing it naturally. That's when she feels you instead of just hearing you. Think about this. People don't actually remember plain words. They remember the energy behind them. They remember how you made them feel in the moment. It's not the exact sentence that sticks. It's the tone, the rhythm, the emotional temperature. That's why people forget conversations but remember experiences. Write this down. People forget what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. That's not just a pretty quote. It's a law of connection. She may not remember the phrase, but if your words touched her deeply, she'll carry that moment long after. Picture this. A dark room filled with balloons. Each balloon has the same words written on it. Hey, how are you? Just checking in. The air feels heavy, lifeless. Now imagine you don't bring another balloon. You bring a candle. The second it's lit, the entire room changes. That's what real presence feels like. But here's the trap. Most men avoid depth because of fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being too intense. Fear of being judged for being emotional. So they play safe. They send generic messages. They stay polite. But safe doesn't sit there stir passion. Safe doesn't stay alive in memory. Presence does. You weren't meant to blend into the background. You were meant to move her to stir her imagination. And when your words carry imagery, rhythm, and story, she doesn't just hear them, she experiences them. That's when you stop being just another guy, and you start being a feeling she wants to return to. So from now on, make this your new standard. No more empty filler. No more safe autopilot. Every word you speak, every message you send, let it come from truth. Not the version of you think she wants, not that polished act. Just you, present, steady, certain. And this is where it begins with one phrase, 3 words. Small but powerful, you and me. Simple, direct, unshakable. Why does it work? Because it frames everything as shared, not separate. It tells her we're in this moment together. It bypasses the surface level and lands in her subconscious where bonds are formed. Say it with calmness, not rush. Let silence stretch after it. That pause is not empty. It's magnetic. The human brain fills silence with meaning. When you leave that space, she leans in. She invests her energy in the moment instead of scrolling past it. Now, don't mistake this for manipulation. This isn't about tricking her into liking you. It's about giving her something real. Something so rare that it feels irresistible. Most people don't listen. Most people don't speak with presence. Most people don't risk silence. So when you do, you stand out without trying. Think about rhythm for a second. Great songs aren't just made of lyrics. They're made of pauses, beats, timing. A single note stretched longer than expected makes your chest tighten. A sudden drop of silence makes you wait. Words are the same. Delivered with rhythm, they stop being words and start being music. That's how she feels it. Not through your vocabulary, but through your energy. Let's go deeper. Every woman carries her own inner world. She lives in thought, memory, story, image. When you only speak at the surface about traffic, weather, schedules, you never touch that world. But when you choose imagery, when you choose language that paints a picture, she can't help but step into it. Say to her, "You have that look like your mind is somewhere I'd like to be." Notice how it works. You're not complimenting her in a plain way. You're inviting her inner world into the. That makes her pause, not just smile politely. You've spoken to more than her appearance. You've spoken to her depth. This is why poets, storytellers, and musicians are remembered. Not because they had better words than anyone else, but because their words carried imagery, rhythm, presence. They invited people inside an experience. And here's the shift you need to make. Stop focusing on what should I say and start focusing on how does it feel when I say it. Delivery is everything. A phrase as simple as "come here" can sound ordinary, or it can sound like gravity. If you let it come from a place of calm certainty, if you give it weight and silence, it becomes more than a command. It becomes a pull. This is where energy comes in. Masculine energy at its core isn't loud. It's grounded. It's the rock the river bends around. It doesn't push, it draws. It doesn't rush, it waits. That energy, when carried through words, is what makes her skin heat and her thoughts scatter for just a second. Let me be clear. None of this works if it's fake. If you force it, she'll feel the strain. Women are tuned to authenticity. They sense when a man's words don't match his state. That's why grounding yourself first is critical. Breathe slower, speak slower, let your shoulders drop, then speak. Presence is not what you do in the moment. It's what you carry before the moment even arrives. Now imagine this. She's with you and you lean in just slightly. Not much, just enough. And you say, "You and me, we're trouble waiting to happen." Do you see how that lands differently than a compliment? It's not about her looks. It's about energy between you. It's about the spark that exists in that shared space. She doesn't need to think. Her body reacts before her mind catches up. That's the secret. Words that bypass logic and stir sensation. Let's break down a few examples you can use. Not as scripts to memorize, but as frames to understand. You feel like home and danger at the same time. Why it works, it balances safety and thrill. Two forces women crave. You don't even know what you do to me. Why it works. It's vulnerable but powerful, creating curiosity without full explanation. This energy between us doesn't come around often. Why it works. It frames the moment as rare, elevating its importance. Now here's the caution. Never overuse them. A phrase loses power when repeated too often. Use them like ass-spark in the dark. Rare, intentional, unforgettable. Think of it like perfume. A little leaves a trace that lingers after you've gone. Too much and it suffocates. The same rule applies with words. So let me leave you with this truth. Attraction isn't built on constant noise. It's built on rare intensity. When you stop filling space with chatter. When you let silence do the work. When you drop words like stones into waves.